I remember I felt quite brave for taking the subway, and I got lost on a regular basis, and I ended up in stations I didn't have any business in, or neighborhoods that I wasn't familiar with. And I think I found a lot of really beautiful artwork that way, because that's how I found those eyes. I still don't know what station they're in, and I've been living here for 13 years. It's been this process of discovery and adventure for me, where you want to go somewhere, you don't quite get there, but in the process you might find something really interesting which you might never find again. And that's how it was. Walking around in the neighborhood, I realized that there's not a lot of nature. It's a lot of concrete, and it's a lot of urban buildings and bridges. So I thought that it might be interesting for people to see something unusual, to see something they don't usually see in their environment. I wanted to create a nature scene that would have realistic elements, but the scale of the whole thing and the way the whole thing is put together would really be a fantasy, and something that could just be almost like this gateway into daydreaming or thinking about things that are beautiful. There's 50 steps between where it ends up and where it starts. And I usually start these things on the subway or on the train, because I can't sit in front of a white paper and come up with an idea. It's too stressful. So I usually have my sketchbook and I do these things on the subway. And then I come home and I already have something that I can continue. I think people who don't really know how the process works, in my case at least, that I go through so many iterations and it's so many tens and dozens of hours of work behind each detail, it it can seem as though it would come out fully formed, but it almost never does. I was so fascinated with subway mosaics in New York for such a long time. I actually really studied the images on the walls, and I tried to figure out how they must have been made. I had a lot of favorites, and I kept going back and looking up close to these pieces. That's like a wonderful thing that you can do that at a museum you can't always do, to really go close and try to figure out how this was made. And I did that quite a lot. When I was doing the proposal for the final round, the MTA gave me a list of fabricators, of mosaic fabricators, and I asked them who did certain stations, which were my favorites, and they were all fabricated by Stephen Miotto.
Michelangelo described mosaics as the eternal art because they last forever. The beauty of mosaics is not only that they're very durable, but if you think about it, they're made out of building materials. Stone, glass, sand, cement. And so architecturally, it just works. We're working in a medium which most artists that we deal with have never dealt with. And so it's our job to take their work and translate it. You have to kind of understand even their body of work, what other work they do, and what's important to them. And then from there, it's a collaboration where we discuss, I'll say, well, look, this is how I think we could interpret it. And then the artist gives us the feedback, and we have to know if that's okay with them. Then we're free to work. And that's what makes it kind of be successful.